زوري يا روحي يا فؤادي نفك ساطري نمسك نوديكي في زوري يا روحي يا فؤادي.
Tutanguliza kwa kauli kullukum ra'in wa kullukum mas'ul an ra'iyatihi, yani kila mmoja ni mchunga na kila mmoja ataulizwa kuhusiana na kile ambacho amekichunga.
Tutaleaje watoto wetu? Je, tuwalea vipi watoto wetu? Je, watoto wetu wana maadili ama je watoto wetu wana adabu ama watoto wetu wana tarbia nzuri?
Development follows roads. Whenever a road is opened, the economic activities are always part.
Tumefurahia sana kwa president wetu juu ametutengenezea hii barabara. Hata mashamba yetu sasa itakuwa na value, na hiyo tumeshukuru sana.
Sisi ndio tuna build the country. The future is in our hands.
Yote haya kwenye KBC Channel 1 Ijumaa saa 2:30 usiku.
Mark, what do you think you're doing?
Minding my own business because it has got nothing concerning you.
Do you still have an ounce of respect left for me?
What's up?
How often does Lauren show up here?
Relax.
Christina!
What do you want, Mark?
I am just about to open a whole can of worms. And you will not like one bit of it.
Is there anything that I should know?
Just turn around and go back to wherever you said.
I just want to talk. Calm down.
Please don't tell Diaranjan. He'll be in a panic when he hears.
Should I do that for him? Huh? Just because he's rich and he has the cash?
Go back and tell your boss. If someday I purchase your company, I'll be more generous.
I'm a woman of my word. If I make a promise, I stick by it.
Wow. She's prettier than I'd hoped. I think he can protect you.
Hongera sana mama. Mjamzito.
Apart from that joke, I mean, you can't joke like that.
Hapa ni kwangu. Yeye ndo anafaa atoke. Toka nje!
Hatuna muda. Hawa watu wamegeuzania.
Ndio maana nikakuuliza swali. Kama huko ulikotoka umetishiwa ukanipuuza. Kila kitu sasa ni changu.
Good afternoon and welcome to Channel 1 Lunchtime News. My name is Betty Kiptum and Susan Thuku is my colleague on the sign language interpretation. Now we want to take you to Kasarani Stadium where the inspection is ongoing in preparation for the ODM rally that is happening under the Azimio la Umoja banner, which will be happening on Friday. Let's listen into what is happening there.
The one whose constituency, I go to Junet first, then we will finish with TJ whose constituency is hosting us already just closest. Is next door to say something. But the message that went out, which I want to repeat, is that Nairobians, you are invited to come to Kasarani in your numbers. Thank you very much. Mheshimiwa Commander.
Thank you, Chair.
We shall be bringing you the details of that report a little bit later. Zainab Said is on the ground there. We move to other news. Now, Kitui Governor Charity Ngilu has pleaded with the families affected by Nziu River accident for patience, promising maximum support from the county and the national governments. So far, 32 bodies have been recovered.
Speaking at the Mwingi Level 4 Hospital mortuary where she had visited the affected families, Kitui Governor Charity Ngilu promised to fast-track the body identification process so that the victims may be laid to rest as soon as possible.
The support that we are waiting from the national government is now to help those who have lost their loved ones, and the support is going to come. And this will be done as soon as we have completed identifying the people. The DCIO has been here, they have taken their fingerprints, and they are going to identify positively that this is the person who is called so-and-so, because that is the only way to go.
Families had visited the hospital to ascertain when they may be able to collect the bodies of their loved ones for interment, as well as witness the post-mortem process. Ngilu urged Kitui politicians not to politicize the accident or cast aspersions as to who might have failed.
I agree that river, the bridge should have been done a long time ago, but it was not done. So I do not want to say who was supposed to do it. I have talked to the Ministry of Transport, and the CS Macharia has confirmed to me that they are going to do this Nziu bridge, and that this will be a thing of the past.
Now, leaders from Samburu, Baringo and Turkana have questioned the rising cases of cattle rustling despite the high presence of armed security officers, including the military, in the counties. The leaders noted that unlike in the past, when stolen cattle would be recovered, the situation had recently changed with none of the livestock ever recovered. This came as it emerged that the ongoing drought and proliferation of small arms had worsened the current security situation in the semi-arid counties.
According to Samburu Deputy Governor Julius Leseto, the three counties had common challenges with cattle rustling, poor infrastructure, and drought topping the list. Addressing the press as the sidelines of a consultative between the leaders from the counties and experts, Leseto noted that with the communities easily accessing guns, cases of banditry and cattle rustling had increased, with the stolen animals disappearing into the thin air.
We have these challenges, the climate change issues. We also have conflicts among these counties, and there's a lot of peace initiatives that are being built between these counties by both the national government, the county governments, and also the non-state actors. And therefore, when we are coming here, we are just looking at the policies that guides these conflicts, because pastoralism is one way. We are actually conflicting because of these shared resources like grass, water, and the rangeland. And there's no peace without disarmament of this pastoral community. And I think the government has a role to maintain peace and order.
Ken Otieno, the executive director at Resource Conflict Institute, noted that there was a rise in conflict around the rangelands as communities sought pasture and water.
Make sure that the project works is just to ensure that you understand, the potentials for flare-ups, the triggers for these conflicts within these different regions, whether it is as a result of, the patterns in terms of availability of pasture, water, and other, needed resources for this, for livestock. You have to do this so that you are able to identify them and respond to them.
His sentiments were echoed by Charles Opondo from Mercy Corps, who said that the cases of conflict had spilled to neighboring counties of Laikipia, Isiolo, and others as the communities sought feed for their livestock.
There was the traditional or the cultural practice of cattle raids, etc. But now, aided with small arms and light weapons, we are seeing that worsen. And with the climate change and drought affecting these communities, we are, for example, seeing the kind of clashes we've seen in Laikipia in the recent times. So communities, when hard hit with drought, lack of pasture and water, being pastoralists, they are forced to move, to migrate, because mobility is a key factor in pastoralism. So when they move, and depending on whatever land tenure system they come across as they move, anything that tries to inhibit that movement then often leads to conflict.
Reporting for Lunchtime News, I am Stephanie Akiri.
And Kirinyaga County Governor Anne Waiguru has pledged to hire more cancer specialists in order to cater for the rising cases of cancer in the county. Speaking when she launched a cancer center at Kerugoya Hospital, Waiguru said the additional specialists will be deployed in the various cancer treatment units. The governor said that the center is one of its kind and will bring the much needed quality cancer screening and treatment services to Kirinyaga and Mount Kenya region. The center was established through collaboration of the county government and the County First Ladies Association, Roche Pharmaceuticals, International Cancer Center Institute, Women for Cancer, and African Cancer Foundation.
The inauguration of this center is a major milestone towards bringing the much needed quality cancer screening and treatment services to Kirinyaga and Mount Kenya region. With this cancer center, many more people in our county will now access the care they need under one roof, with their families close by. It will save them traveling long distances and incurring costs in search of cancer treatment at national referral facilities such as Kenyatta National Referral Hospital.
Cancer is not a death sentence, but early detection makes all the difference. And so, for the men from the age of 40, even if you have had a very healthy life, we encourage that you go for a PSA test.
As we know, the cancer burden in Kenya is high. Over 42,000 new cases every year, over 27,000 deaths. And many of these deaths are preventable. And so for us as the national government, we really want to emphasize on cancer prevention through screening.
The university syndrome among parents has been cited as a hindrance to many youths joining technical training institutions to acquire skills for self-reliance. According to the principal, Mungatsi Technical and Vocational Training Institute in Nambale, Kenneth Agoy, newly established technical institutions are struggling to get students to enroll for courses. Area Senior Chief Garishon Wandera hinted that they are using the local administration to sensitize the community to embrace the technical courses and advise the parents to allow their children to join the training institute.
Chetu cha Mungatsi Technical and Vocational College ni chuo muhimu sana ambacho tungelipenda kupeana taaluma kwa wanafunzi wetu ili watokapo kule nje wakishamaliza masomo watatumia ujuzi wao kuanzisha kazi yao wenyewe.
Wazazi na wakaaji wa eneo hili pamoja na zile environs za karibu waweze kupatia watoto nafasi, wale wako na alama za kufanya diploma ama certificate course zile zinapeanwa hapa, waweze kufika hapa ili wapate ujuzi wakiwa hapa hivi.
Now, a total of 100 youth turned up for HIV/AIDS testing during a football tournament at Kanamkemer Primary School in Lodwar, organized by Turkana County Government and a local non-government organization, Youth Unite and Talk to sensitize youth on the scourge. Turkana County AIDS and Sexually Transmitted Infections Coordinator Samuel Pulkol noted youth are the most affected in terms of HIV, STIs and teenage pregnancies. The sensitization forum was organized at a time Turkana County has recorded a 42% new infection cases among youth aged 15 to 24. County Executive Committee Member of Health Jane Ajele urged the youth to use preventive measures to curb further spread of sexually transmitted infections and teenage pregnancies. Rocks of Kanamkemer beat Super United 2-0 in the finals.
Zimekuwa nyingi sana teenage pregnancies, na pia maambukizi mapya ya HIV imeonekana iko juu sana kwa mayouth. Kwa hivyo UNITOC nafikiri wamefanya sisi kuwa na event ya kuweza kuongea, na tunajua kwamba tunaweza kusimamisha teenage pregnancies na new HIV infections.
And Kenya has received 4.2 million doses of Johnson's & Johnson's vaccine donated by the German government. Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe, who received the consignment, said these will support the government's COVID-19 vaccination program to ensure that all Kenyans are safe from the pandemic. The CS calling on all Kenyans to take advantage of the vaccine availability and get vaccinated.
The consignment of 4.3 million doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine from Germany arrived on Monday night at JKIA. With another 400,000 doses from Argentina also received by the Ministry of Health officials led by Health CS Mutahi Kagwe. Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe calling on Kenyans to get vaccinated, saying the move will help the government to fully open the economy.
What we are trying to avoid is a crisis come the 21st of December. We have set that deadline very clearly and a long time ago to say that if you want to get on the train, if you want to go to a restaurant, if you want to go to a government office, if you want to get onto a plane, if you want to leave Kenya, you will have to be vaccinated. And for that reason, we are telling Kenyans, don't wait for the last moment.
Kagwe at the same time stressed that COVID vaccine is administered free of charge, advising Kenyans to report through the ministry any facility or health workers soliciting for pay in exchange for vaccination.
There is no vaccines for sale, and we would like to see somebody go to a police station, report to the CEC, report to the head of the hospital, and say that somebody was trying to sell vaccines to me. So as far as I'm concerned, there could be some criminal elements who may want to sell vaccines, but frankly, they should have nobody to sell to, because vaccines are free.
County government, we shall not only administer these doses in our dispensaries, in our health centers, in our level 4 hospitals, in the referral hospitals, but also we shall begin doing it in the schools, shall begin doing it in the churches.
The CS denied making vaccination mandatory, but warned it was more than necessary.
I wish to reiterate that we are not forcing any Kenyan to be vaccinated. It is not mandatory vaccination. If you don't want to be vaccinated, that's fine with us. But do not expect us to risk all other Kenyans who want to be vaccinated because of you. So you'll be free to operate in a manner that you can. I'm sure you'll be quite creative in doing so, but we cannot risk other Kenyans because of the fact that one or two people do not wish to be vaccinated.
Now we want to take you to Parliament, where the National Assembly Administration and Security Committee was vetting Ambassador Anthony Mushiri, who is the nominee for the chairperson of the Public Service Commission. Our reporter Kevin Washira is on the ground. Kevin, what's the latest?
Very much, Betty Kiptum. A while ago, the National Assembly Administration and Security Committee was engaging the nominee for Chairperson Public Service Commission, that is Ambassador Anthony Mushiri, on his suitability to be the next chairperson of the Public Service Commission. And now joining me is the chairperson of the Administration and Security Committee. Bona Chairperson, what have you gathered from what the nominee of Chairperson, that is Ambassador Mushiri, has given to the committee with regards to his suitability to chair the Public Service Commission?
Well, I would say just like any candidate, he came and argued his case. He has told us he's worked in the public service for 37 years and is currently serving as an ambassador for Cuba and some other countries. And we expect all the information that we have gotten from him that our secretariat will put in place, and then they will analyze, and they have a checklist on compliance and his suitability. And then probably by Friday we'll have a draft report, which normally the secretariat will share with me, and then next week we shall call a meeting for the same committee to adopt the recommendations. And the recommendations have not been done now, so we don't know whether we will recommend that he becomes the chair or not. It will depend on the facts as will be put together by the secretariat.
As the committee that oversights the public service, what are the challenges that you expect that if he gets to the office that he should look at first and give them priority?
Well, first one is the issue of bloated civil service, and I'm sure everybody knows that. And secondly is the unemployment of our youth. Most of them, we saw the other day, most of the youth, especially those coming from tertiary institutions, have been applying for internship, the paid internship. And it's good to know that the country knows that we had 46,000 applicants for those positions under public service, for which we had given about 100 million. The committee gave about 100 million. But notwithstanding that number, that high number of applicants, we only managed to place 3,000. So there is a huge deficit which he has to address when he comes in. And of course he pleaded that if he gets the position, he will require the cooperation of an assistance of the committee to be able to budget, and so that we are able to pick our youth and place them under internship to get them ready to be employed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. A brief background of the nominee, Ambassador Anthony Mushiri, is the current ambassador of Cuba. He has also served in Libya as an envoy. He has served for 37 years in the public service, and he used that to build his case as the most suitable person to be the chairperson of the Public Service Commission. Among the key issues that he has said he will deal with is he will retweak the performance management system, which he says has been neglected for a while, and he has also talked about the human resource system in the whole government. So we wait for the National Assembly Administration Committee to give its report, which will be forwarded to the House for adoption or otherwise. Back to you, studio.
Thank you very much, Kevin Washira. They are coming to us from the Parliament buildings, where the National Security Committee was vetting the Ambassador Anthony Mushiri, who is a nominee for the Public Service Commission chairperson position. And of course, he has said that he will deal with matters such as the bloated civil service, as well as the unemployment of the youth in the country. Well, on that note, we take a quick break here on Channel 1 Lunchtime News. When we come back, more news, including an interview about matters remittances. Stay with us.
They are marching to provide quality service to all and render special support for other police formations during operations. Watch the General Service Unit Passing Out Parade live on KBC Channel 1 on the 8th of December 2021, presided over by President Uhuru Kenyatta at the National Police College Embakasi B campus.
Get out of here and fight for the love that we share.
What are you doing? Let go of me! Please help me!
I want to question you about the death of Julio Flores.
This man will explain to you the real reason why your mother fled from the country many years ago.
You will have to leave Las Dianas. So we left her at home.
What? Is she by herself?
Please don't tell Diaranjan. He'll be in a panic when he hears.
Should I do that for him? Huh? Just because he's rich and he has the cash?
Go back and tell your boss. If someday I purchase your company, I'll be more generous.
I'm a woman of my word. If I make a promise, I stick by it.
Wow. She's prettier than I'd hoped. I think he can protect you.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email newsroom@kbc.co.ke, call 0723 892 654 or 0734 780 124.
This is Channel 1 Lunchtime News. Now, a section of Amani National Congress legislators have dismissed claims that the party's leader Musalia Mudavadi will join forces with Deputy President William Ruto in the 2022 general election. Kusero Member of Parliament Christopher Aseka said Mudavadi will instead march on to the ballot as a presidential candidate.
The Kusara Member of Parliament told off those forcing Musalia to join the Deputy President's camp, adding that the ANC party leader should be left to make his personal decision.
Kama Mudavadi hata kuwa kwa debe, ule mtu tutasaidia mwenye ako karibu ni Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga.
According to Aseka, Mudavadi's name will be on the ballot paper come 2022 general election.
Tunajua ya kwamba Mheshimiwa Wycliffe Musalia Mudavadi atagombea kiti cha urais cha Jamhuri la Kenya. Na kama hatagombea atatuonyesha mwelekeo mahali tunae.
Elsewhere, Orange Democratic Movement Youth Wing leadership has urged more youth countrywide to run for elective posts, promising them fair party primaries. ODM Youth President John Ketura said ODM party and like-minded political parties under the Azimio la Umoja initiative will ensure fair and credible party primaries.
You'll hear him saying, I have another 6 slots for young people. That is in my cabinet. And you know, government is not just cabinet. There are going to be other positions. There are going to be ambassadorial positions. There are going to be directors. There are going to be many head of parastatals. There are going to be, government is big. Mutafute vitu kwa hii chama, and we are going to give you a free and fair nomination. Sisi hatutakandamiza mtu.
He spoke in Kitengela town when he received dozens of youth defectors who have decamped to ODM.
And residents of Kiwanja Ndege area of Isiolo have decried poor workmanship by a contractor who has been repairing roads in the area. They say the contractor has failed to construct a proper drainage system that will direct flood waters from the upper regions of Meru County away from their homes and into designated water valleys.
Following heavy rains received in the upper areas of the neighboring Meru County, stormwater flowed into residents' houses in Kiwanja Ndege area of Isiolo County, damaging their property.
Hayo maji yameathiri maisha watu wengi, watu wamelala kuhangaika kutoa maji kwa manyumba zao. Tunaomba county tujibike.
Affected residents say the contractor who has been repairing roads in the area messed up with the old culverts and water paths, hence making the flood waters flow into people's homes and making roads impassable to even school-going children.
Wale wanahusika wakuja watusaidie na watuangalie, kwa sababu sisi hata kulala tulilala na njaa. Hata ukienda unga ile tulikuwa tumeweka stoko yenyewe ilienda na maji.
Kile mimi ningeomba ni ya kwamba maji haya yafungiwe to the extreme corner ile ambayo iko pande ile ya kwa Msentolentare, ielekeze pande ya kiwanja ndege, kwa sababu hakuna watu kwa uwanja. Maji indureniwe pande hiyo.
Residents are calling for swift action by the county government to force the contractor to move with speed in order to mitigate their suffering.
And more than 15 families spent the night in the cold after their houses were demolished on a disputed 10-acre parcel of land in Majivuni area of Magarini constituency. The residents claim a private developer was behind the eviction and accused the police of protecting the land grabber. Well, we shall be bringing you that story in a little bit, but now we take a quick break. When we come back, more news. Stay with us.
They are marching to provide quality service to all and render special support for other police formations during operations. Watch the General Service Unit Passing Out Parade live on KBC Channel 1 on the 8th of December 2021, presided over by President Uhuru Kenyatta at the National Police College Embakasi B Campus.
Basically the kind of vibe that we do, tunafanya something in a connect na watu on a personal scale. Right. Vibe yetu ni totally out of this world. Just trying to uplift people with our vibe, motivate people with our vibe, you know, make people dance, make people rejoice.
So wakushinda kwenye TikTok nikiboeka unitaga baby tuongee. Kesha nifunza mideko minadekezwa likoroge pendo linoge.
Naeleza kuna vipaji huku mtaani na kuna vijana wadogo wajiwezi, ni vizuri tushikamane nao tuwainue pamoja.
Ninye sumu ya nini marashi yanipulizia minanukia nimeridhia najivunia macho yake malegevu kama nanita.
Development follows roads. Whenever a road is opened, the economic activities are always part.
Tumefurahia sana kwa president wetu juu ametutengenezea hii barabara. Hata mashamba yetu sasa itakuwa na value, na hiyo tumeshukuru sana.
Sisi ndio tuna build the country. The future is in our hands.
Yote haya kwenye KBC Channel 1 Ijumaa saa 2:30 usiku.
Welcome back. You are watching Channel 1 Lunchtime News. We now want to take you to neighboring Tanzania in Mwanza, where the East African Community Trade Fair is ongoing. It's in its second day. Our reporter Wycliffe Okech has been on the ground there, just following up on the stories that are happening. What is the latest from the trade fair, Wycliffe?
Well, thank you so much, Betty Kiptum, back in Nairobi. We are indeed coming to you live from Mwanza in Tanzania. This is the 6th day of the 21st edition of ESC SMEs Trade Fair here in Mwanza. Actually, this exhibition is meant actually to promote SMEs within the East African region. And yesterday, Betty, I showed you, we were talking with Jeff, actually showed you the innovative work of artwork you did yesterday. But then today, I'm going to show you something quite different, again, unique, where I'm going to join my friend here, Dennis. Dennis actually is from Kenya and is making quite unique products here. That's actually is going to explain to us how they work and probably if at all he has made any sales here. Dennis,
yes.
Habari yako ndugu?
Mzuri sana.
Yeah. Naona una bidhaa mzuri sana.
Yeah.
Kama tu utatueleza kwanza utajitambulisha na utueleze bidhaa kama hizi ni aina gani, what is it and inafanya kazi kwa namna gani?
Ya, mimi mwenyewe naitwa Dennis Bwire wa Bidonge. Mimi ni Mkenya. Ya. Mimi natoka kaunti ya Kiambu. Ya.
Tukiongelelea hii bidhaa ambayo umetengeneza, utatueleza hii ni nini na inafanya kazi kwa namna gani? Hii kwanza hii ambapo nimeona hapa hivi. Inaitwa nini na inafanya kazi kwa namna gani?
Ya, hii ni extension ya speaker na imeundwa na mbao, ambapo inafunguliwa na kifunguo. Ya, ambapo unapofungua na kifunguo utapata kwamba inaanza kufanya kazi. Bila ufunguo haiwezi fanya kazi. Ambapo ni extension mzuri sana, unaweza weka TV, weke ufa, unachaji simu, lakini uzuri wake unazuia mtu kugombana na wewe kwa sababu ya uaminifu na tena kwa sababu ya amani. Vile ilivyo hata ninapofungulia hapa utaona vile inavyofanya kazi. Yeah.
Na ukiweza nieleza kuna tofauti gani kati ya hii extension ambayo umetengeneza kwa kutumia mbao na ile ya kawaida ambayo tunanunua kwa duka? Tofauti ni gani?
Tofauti, unapata extension ya mbao haiweki joto ndani, huwa inatoa joto. Na unapata tena utofauti wa hii, unapata kwamba ile ya plastic hauwezi pata iko na ufunguo. Utapata tena yenyewe haiwezi wekwa ufunguo kwa sababu itayeyuka kwa sababu ya joto. Na uzuri wa hii tofauti yake iko na ufunguo, unapofungua inafanya kazi, naweza funga extension yangu niende kazi yangu. Yeah.
Na ni kwa nini ukafikiria kutengeneza tu extension ambayo ina funguo? Ufunguo ina maana gani kwa hii extension? Ni kwa nini ulifikiriaje kutengeneza extension ambayo inatumia ufunguo?
Yeah. Kufikiria ni vile niliona, sijaiona extension inafunguliwa na kifunguo, na kitu ya pili ilifanya nikafikiria, nikaona nikiunda extension ya kifunguo inaweza ikikuwa kwenye ofisi itafurahisha sana wale wako kwenye ofisi. Mtu anafunga na anaenda, haileti magombanisho ya hata kule nyumbani.
Hivyo unanieleza kwamba nikiwa nimeweza kununua hii bidhaa kutoka kwako, nikipeleka kwangu kule nyumbani naweza kutumia, ni mimi peke yangu naweza kutumia?
Wewe mwenyewe unaweza tumia ikiwa uko na ufunguo. Sasa wewe ndio utorotate hiyo extension. Mwingine hawezi rotate kwa sababu ana ufunguo. Yeah.
Na nikiangalia hapa naona kuna kitu kama speaker hapa hivi. Naona kwanza hii hapa ni tofauti na hizo zingine. Hii ina maana gani hapa?
Hii ina maana kwamba iko na speaker, extension ya speaker. Naweza connect kutoka kwa subwoofer na connect socket kuweka hapa, kisha unapata subwoofer inatoa hapa moto, na ninapofungulia inaanza kutoa sauti, inaimba. Jaribu. Tayari unaona imewaka. Hiyo ni sauti. Naona inatoa sauti.
Kumbe inafanya kazi, unaweza kufunguzia tu. Kwa hivyo sasa hivi ni subwoofer na inafanya kazi pamoja na hii hapa.
Inafanya pamoja kazi na hiyo. Yeah.
Ndugu Dennis, nikiwa nataka kununua bidhaa hii kama hii yako, ni pesa ngapi utauza kwa pesa ngapi ama tai hapa?
Nitauza kwa 4,000 ya Kenya. Yeah.
Okay. Kule nchini Kenya hii kazi yako unafanyia wapi?
Ninafanyia Kiambu, Ruiru, Matopeni Primary School.
Yeah. Hapa wale ulikuwa unanieleza kwamba maonyesho umeweza bidhaa kama hizo umeweza kuonyesha hata Rwanda, katika maonyesho kama haya umeweza kuonyesha kule Rwanda na sehemu nyingine tena.
Yeah.
Huko kuzunguka kwote umekufaida kwa namna gani? Imeleta faida gani kwako?
Imenisaidia sana kwa sababu naona bidhaa zangu zimeanza kujulikana. Hapo ndio naona kwamba imenitia nguvu, ambapo ninatamani tena ijulikane zaidi. Hapo ndio naona kwamba imenisaidia sana na kujuana na wale wakubwa ambao wanadili na bidhaa kama hizi.
Thank you so much, Dennis Tombo. Thank you so much. Betty, as you heard from that, that is just one of the innovative pieces that Kenyans are bringing to this exhibition here. And tomorrow, December 8th, that will be Kenya's open day at this exhibition. And we'll be talking to many Kenyans and to sample some of the pieces of innovation that they're bringing to this innovation. Remember, this 21st edition of the ESC Trade Fair is attracting close to 1,500 small and medium enterprises exhibitors, out of which 382 are Kenyans. And tomorrow being the open day for Kenya, and we'll be talking to many Kenyans to get what they expect from this trade fair, and if at all this trade fair so far has benefited them in any way. We'll be finding that out. But for now, Betty, I hand it back to you in studio in Nairobi.
Thank you very much, Weekly for Cage, coming to us from Mwanza in Tanzania, where the trade fair of the EAC community is ongoing there in its second day to just support small and medium enterprises across the region to grow their businesses. Now, tomorrow, as he has said, is Kenya's open day with 382 SME exhibitors from Kenya out of a total of 1,500 from across the region. We shall be giving you that update, of course, but we move on to now a conversation in the studio here. We want to talk about matters diaspora remittances, and to have that conversation is Sharon Kinyanjui. She is the director at World Remit. Welcome on set, Sharon Kinyanjui.
Thank you so much, Betty. Kiptum.
Yes, karibu sana. Now let's just start with some numbers here. In 2021, the projected diaspora remittances stand at $3.4 billion US. According to the Central Bank of Kenya, there has been a steady rise in the diaspora remittances from January at $278 million US up to October. It was at $337 billion. Now, Sharon, these numbers, what do they say about money coming into the country?
Thanks, Betty. I think what it shows is that Kenyans are really diligent about being able to send money back home. They take it very, very seriously. Yes, there's definitely been a marked increase. In the midst of all this pandemic, Kenyans still choose to send money back. And like you rightly said, the shift has been about sending about $2.2 billion, last year to about $2.7 billion this year in a span of about 9 months. That's pretty impressive, I would say. And it's an uplift of about 20%, considering that at one point, the World Bank had thought that during the pandemic, remittances would go down. So it says that Kenyans really care about sending money back home.
Right. As you rightly put it, there was talk that it might go down, but it did not, despite the pandemic hitting both the local and the global economy. Why is this?
I think because the needs have not changed. If anything, they've probably increased, right? Because if you think about it, you've had higher incidences of medical costs, unexpected expenses in terms of hospitalization, and that has meant that in some cases, unfortunately, people have had to send money home very, very quickly, which is why, for us as a digital remittance company, we've seen a lot of people sending and expecting their money to arrive, which it does in a matter of minutes. And then, of course, people have gone back to school. There was a time during the pandemic that people were homeschooling or schools were shut. Education is now back on, and there's definitely a need to make sure that by the beginning of term, remittances are sent back home to support family.
Right. The diaspora remittances is Kenya's largest foreign exchange, and at least since 2015 up to date. Now, when you look at this money coming in, largely it's from Northern America. That is the biggest contributor, followed by Europe and then the rest of the world. Where is this money going exactly when it comes now to Kenya? How is it being used?
I think it's for the reasons that we have stated as well. It's predominantly, we're seeing a lot of money going towards education. So a lot of people are choosing to send money back for that. The data that we actually have from CBK, it's 65% of the inflows are coming from North America, like you rightly said, and a lot of that is towards education. We also have regular support. So, where you have your grandparents out in the rural areas, you want to be able to pay electricity property for them, or you want to buy gas, that's another key area. And of course, education. And then of course, now we're coming closer and closer to the Christmas time. So there's that need to sherekea with your family back home. So we're definitely seeing an increase in terms of people wanting to send back specifically for Christmas.
Right. So over the years, has that been the trend that over the festivities, the money being sent back to the country goes up?
Correct. Yes, exactly. December is actually our peak season across the industry. So for World Remit, it's definitely our peak period. So what we tend to see is, especially from mid-December, a lot of people who are unable to come back home themselves choose to be able to send money back home and choose a variety of different ways at World Remit. They either choose to send it in a Safaricom or Airtel wallet, or they can choose to send it into a Kenya shillings or a USD bank account, or alternatively just send it to any of our cash pickup locations, and their loved ones would collect the funds. And then we also have a small segment of people who just want to send airtime. So maybe you want to be able to make sure that you can reach your friends and family over Christmas and wish them Merry Christmas. So you just send them the equivalent of 500 bob. Yeah.
Right. How about investments, diaspora remittances being put into investments in the country?
Yeah, we've definitely seen that is back on. So I think at the beginning part of the pandemic in 2020, people were very uncertain, right? We had over 6 million people in America losing their jobs, of which, Kenyans were also impacted by that whole trend. So, and now that it's become a bit more stable and people are realizing that the pandemic is here to stay, I think people are now going back to their original investments. So what we're finding is that a lot of Kenyans choose to use platforms like bank account, especially USD and Kenya shillings bank accounts, to be able to send money back home for those larger investments where you want to build either a commercial building, or perhaps you've always thought about building your own home. We're definitely seeing an increase in terms of the commercial investments. Yeah.
And so what do you foresee as the future in terms of even the trends? Are they going to change? Will they remain the same?
I think we foresee that the trends will continue to increase. People will still continue to send money back home. I think for a different variety of reasons. A lot of it, the biggest trend that we see is there's a lot more digitalization. So people are choosing to use digital platforms like World Remit, predominantly because we're back to lockdowns. So especially on the sending side, some countries are on lockdown. Also on the receiving side, countries are on lockdown. So people are going back to those earlier days of the pandemic where they're choosing to use more digital platforms, which is safer, of course, and more convenient, but also we're also seeing it will also reduce the price of remittances. The CBK had stated that basically remittances into Kenya cost about 8%. We've been working strongly to reduce those fees. In fact, we've currently slashed those fees dramatically to help people send money back home. So I think what we'll see is with more affordability, people will send more money, and this will be a continuing trend.
Right. I think it's a very important point that you've brought about the affordability of sending money back in Kenya. I think it's the most expensive in the region, is it?
Not far off. So across sub-Saharan Africa, it's actually estimated that it's about 16% to be able to send fees back home. Kenya at about 8% is halfway through. But of course, we have these sustainability goals which talk about 3% in the next 10, 20 years, right? So that's really where we're trying to aim to. So anything or more digital companies like ourselves being able to send money and reducing the cost and slashing the fees dramatically so that it makes it easier for Kenyans back home will make it easier for us to get to that 3%, which is really where we need to be driving to.
Right. So as we come to a close of this conversation, what is your closing remark? 30 seconds, please.
My closing remark is, digitalization is definitely the way to go. I think it'll help the overall economy, especially now during the pandemic. And we expect that the trends will continue as Kenyans continue to support their loved ones back home.
Right. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you, Betty.
That is Sharon Kinyanjui. She is the director at World Remit, and we have been talking about matters diaspora remittances, what Kenyans are doing with this money that is coming into the country, and what the trends will be moving forward. We now move to other news. WhatsApp is one of the most popular social media apps in Kenya, ranking fourth behind Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. However, the popular messaging app is set to add another feather to its cap by allowing users to save using the app. Zamara Capital Chief Sandeep Raichura says the new innovation is meant to spur voluntary savings for both the informal and the formal sectors.
With most households in rural areas and in the informal settlement dependent on meager wages from manual labor, the task of balancing immediate family needs with long-term financial goals is usually a tough balancing act that in most cases leaves families with minimal or no savings at all. As a result, Kenya's saving culture has stagnated at 5% of the GDP. To promote a savings culture among the informal sector and the youth, Zamara Capital has today unveiled Africa's first pension savings plan on WhatsApp that will allow low-income earners to save for retirement via WhatsApp.
Use WhatsApp to enroll, join a pension plan, save, take out insurance. So we say that financial security for every Kenyan is just a WhatsApp click away.
Dubbed Fahari Retirement Plan, Zamara Capital is targeting over 600,000 Kenyans in the first year to save as low as 20 shillings a day.
So if you take somebody who saves 20 shillings a day, right, and had they been doing this for 10 years, they would have accumulated close to 120,000 shillings. During this COVID crisis, this money would have been very useful to keep food on the table, right, to keep their families going.
Retirement Benefits Authority Chief Executive Officer Nzomo Motuko says the innovation will spur voluntary individual savings not only for the informal sector, majority of who do not have a savings or retirement plan, but the youth as well.
Area that we have really not done well, as Sandeep said, is driving coverage. So coverage, we are now up to 22%. So we have grown because 20 years ago we were around 12%. But still, a large part of the working population is not a member of any pension scheme. And most of those are those in the informal sector.
To see Juakali sector doing much better and investing for retirement. Previously, it was so neglected, and yet it contributes about 30 to 40% of the GDP with more than 90% of employment.
With the app, Kenyans can be able to access the plan before they reach their retirement age in the case of an emergency. Caroline Jenger for Lunchtime News.
Across borders, an Egyptian firm is preparing to build a large electrical instruments factory built at 92 billion investment at Dar es Salaam. The firm will be building transformers, electric cables and meters for the local and export markets. Here are the details of these and others from across the African continent.
The industrial complex comprises several manufacturing facilities specializing in cables, wires, transformers, PVCs and meters, along with logistics center built on a 4,800 square meter area. In the complex, solutions and equipment necessary for the 2025 industrialization strategy of Tanzania will be made, helping create more than 500 jobs for talented youths and technical engineers in the first phase alone. The complex includes a technical training academy to provide innovative technical education and vocational training programs with international standards to train and provide skills to aspiring employees and feed the growing labor market in the developing nation. Meanwhile, Trade Depot, a Nigerian-based e-commerce startup, quadrupled its valuation by drawing in new money as the company looks to expand its reach among small African retailers that generate an estimated $1 trillion in annual sales. The digital platform, which connects businesses using its network to distributors of consumer goods, raised $110 million in an equity and debt funding. Poor access to capital and fragmented distribution channels available to small shops in Africa have created an opening for Trade Depot to unlock financing. with over 100 suppliers and more than 100,000 stalls on its platform. The company provides credit for retailers to access inventory with an option to pay back in installments as clients purchase the goods. Finally, the International Monetary Fund and Zambia have reached a staff-level agreement on a $1.4 billion 3-year extended credit facility, which could bring the heavily indebted country one step closer to a comprehensive debt overhaul. Zambia is one of the world's largest copper producers, and it became Africa's first pandemic-era sovereign defaulter last November after years of excessive government borrowing drove its debt burden above 120% of GDP. Zambia currently has $16 billion in external debt alone.
Principal Secretary in the State Department for Post-Training and Skills Development, Alfred Cheruyot, wants youth incorporated in the development of curriculum that matches the labor market demands in tertiary education. Speaking at the Center for Mathematics, Science and Technology Education for Africa during the opening ceremony of the National Conference on Matching Curricula to Labor Market Demands, the PS assured his department's commitment to ensuring the reforms will equip the graduates with relevant skills in line with changes to the global market demands. Sentiments echoed by the State Department for the Implementation of Curriculum Reforms Principal Secretary Dr. Fatuma Shege, who called on all relevant actors to come together in synergy with this theme of enhancing graduate employability.
We do not want to see any more education outcomes that are translated into failure and hopelessness of Kenyans.
Most importantly, the youth themselves should be given an opportunity to get engaged and play an active role in the design and implementation of their education and employability.
How are we preparing to be part of that fourth industrial revolution, and so that we do not have to play catch up with the rest of the world?
The Kenya National Highway Authority is set to continue construction of the 100-kilometer Loruk-Marich Pass Highway in January 2021 after a year of stoppage. KENHA Board Chair Engineer Wangai Ndirangu says the road is expected to ease transport in the North Rift region, where most road users travel for long distances.
Speaking during a stakeholder meeting in Lake Bogoria, Baringo County, Kenya National Highway Authority Board Chair Engineer Wangai Ndirangu said the Loruk-Marich Pass road connectivity will also be a big boost to economy in the region, which has been marginalized for years.
It cuts the distance of someone traveling from Nakuru onwards to, to Lodwar and beyond by 70 kilometers. I mean, that's an hour or almost 2 hours saving in terms of the travel time.
Baringo Senator Gideon Moi lauded the move, saying the region has lagged behind in development, adding that the road will spur development in the region.
It will lead to security in Baringo County. And apart from doing the road, they're going to do some other feed roads out, which will help us in the rapid response on when these situations arise.
KENHA had constructed 56 kilometers of tarmac from Loruk to Bapelo, which is the first tarmac road in Tiaty constituency.
In sports news now, the Kenya swimming team to Kana Zone 3 Swimming Championship left the country Tuesday morning ahead of the regional gala slated for 9th to 13th in Kampala, Uganda. Kenya will be represented by 30 swimmers in different age group categories. 48 swimmers had initially been picked but were trimmed to 30 due to financial constraints. The regional championship will bring together swimmers from 11 countries, among them hosts Kenya, Uganda, Sudan, Tanzania, Ethiopia and Eritrea. Now, Liverpool boss Jurgen Klopp is expected to rotate his side for their final Champions League group game against AC Milan tonight, having already qualified to the knockout stages. Meanwhile, in the English Premier League, Demarai Gray's superb injury time strike earned Everton a first win in 9 games after a stunning 2-1 comeback victory over Arsenal last night.
The last clash of the 15th round of the English Premier League saw Everton come back from a goal down to